Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto, Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. My name is Egberto, Willies, your host. Good morning, Houston. Good morning, Harris County. Good morning to the great state of Texas. Good morning to the United States of America. And of course, good morning to the world receiving the signals through the magic of the internet, formerly known as the ARPANET, created not by the billionaires, but created by you and now legally stolen by the billionaires. But we got a lot to talk about today. We have a special guest that we're going to start to show off in a little bit with as well, my dear brothers and sisters. But before we get busy, let's go ahead and bring on Los Genios, the geniuses in the studio. And we have a special genius in the studio as well. I think her name is going to be Elise Bench. Anyway, studio, how you guys doing this morning?
Well, good morning, Egberto. It is another fine day at the radio here. February the 25th to 2025 it is. And I will have to say happy birthday to Brenda in Dallas. I haven't talked to her in quite a while, but happy birthday, Brenda. I'll never forget your birthday. Let's see. Elise Bench is with us. Good morning, Elise. Can you hear us now?
I can hear you. Howard, you're a genius, by the way. Thank you guys so much for having me on. It's great to be up early making the donuts with you guys today. Thanks for having me.
Well, I tell you what, it's a good day to make donuts, that's for sure. Jack's got some wisdom here, so I think I don't have anything. I don't have a rant this morning.
Oh, go!
No, I don't have a rant this morning, so I'm good. Except that I'm very ashamed of the United States for voting against the UN resolution.
Oh, Lord. I mean, it's crazy.
That's probably the first time we've ever done that.
Yeah.
You know, denouncing a despot. Of course, we're run by a despot, so it doesn't matter. Jack, what you got, man?
Well, good morning, Egberto. How are you?
Good morning, Jack. How you doing this morning, my brother?
Well, I got your post a little late, so I wrote it on the post before. So, okay, people, our economic system got flipped to a neoliberal economic system under Reagan. They called it trickle-down economics. That was the lie. They sold to the citizens. The economic system that they installed should have been called effervesce up economics, because that's what it did. It funneled wealth up the chain to the wealthy. The oligarchs have had almost 50 years to accumulate the wealth they are using to rig the system. The challenge to the citizens is to find a way to unrig the system by asserting their worth and to examine their spending and participation in consumption.
You do remember that, what is it, the 28th is the blackout day? Buy nothing.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I'll participate.
Mm-hmm. And I'm planning on doing that myself. Look, consumerism is what's driving the oligarchs. If we just stop consuming stuff that we don't need, and I'm guilty of it too, and that would fix a lot of this stuff. All right. Egberto, it is all yours.
Well, before I go into the show, want to welcome Elise Bench. I think this is the first time we've been working together here in the Fund Drive. So, Elise, welcome aboard. How are you doing today, my dear friend?
I'm doing great. It's wonderful to be here. I'm always reminded, Egberto, when I catch your show, of how important and how vital it is to be able to have this space, this time carved out every single morning to be able to listen to each other and talk about the things that make sense. And you do such a great job of driving that conversation. You're informed, you're intelligent, and that always shines through. I always learn something and get something important out of the show when I listen. So first and foremost, thank you for what you do. And if you're listening right now, if you'd like to add your name to the list of people we can thank, kpft.org. We are just kicking things off this morning with Politics Done Right. That's followed up by Democracy Now! And then Conversations on KPFT. 3 great shows. each and every weekday morning that gives you the opportunity as a listener, whether you're here in Houston, whether you're listening to us on kpft.org, streaming on the World Wide Web, you have the opportunity to participate in a show that is very special. And Egberto gives space. He gives thoughtful comments. He gives commentary. He gives news. This is something that is worth supporting. If it makes you feel that way, add your name right now to the list of supporters for KPFT at kpft.org. I'll keep it short and sweet right now and turn it back over to you guys so we can get the conversation going this morning. And then I'll pop back in a little bit later. Back to you, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly, Elise. Thank you so kindly. Let me first say, folks, that Elise is absolutely right that KPFT is a station worth supporting. KPFT is a place, again, especially in these times where you don't know who's telling you the truth. This is one that, for all, to put it bluntly, you paid for. This is something that you're paying for with your contributions voluntarily. And you know what? We want to honor that by making sure we keep you informed with nothing but the truth. That's what we get out of here. So I'm asking you, as Elise did, kpft.org, hit that donate button, select Politics Done Right as a program you're supporting right now, and give whatever you can. We're hoping to get more what we call sustainers. That is $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, whatever you can. Right now, as an activist and somebody who supports a whole lot of other progressive causes as well, my donation level is $10 a month. And I also, of course, come here every single morning and do a whole lot of research to give you a positive show of moving forward. But anyway, folks, I want to get started with the program by telling you that the title of the show today is, and let me get to that screen. But beforehand, Joe from Los Angeles, California is already in the house. She says, it's all in unacceptable disarray. You're absolutely right. But I don't want despair, folks. I'm going to bring somebody onto the program today. And this woman that I'm bringing onto the program today, she didn't sit down in despair for something happening right here locally. She did something about it. She engaged. We're going to talk about that. The title of the show today, Fighting Trump 2.0, Grandma's Social Security check is in danger, and postal workers protest. I'm going to start today with Sarah Terrell. Sarah Terrell is going to be calling into the program in a little bit. Sarah Terrell went ahead and she has been following the Houston Independent School District and all the shenanigans that's been occurring over there. And she is present at the meeting. She is a community activist who has always earned her wings by being a part of a system, or by, I should say, by challenging the system when the system goes awry. She's a friend of mine, and I could not be more proud of her. You know, when the Houston Chronicle did an article about her, they called her a grandma gets, well, we're going to talk about that, but she ain't look like no darn grandma. She's an activist out there working for all of us. She's not sitting back in despair. She's actually engaging and making a difference. And that's what we're going to talk about. So without further ado, let's go to Sarah Terrell. How you doing, Sarah? Welcome to Politics Done Right.
Thank you, Egberto. Thank you for having me on your show.
Well, look, let me tell you, first of all, I want to say we are all happy that you're out there holding down the one of many people out there, but you're engaging in holding down the fort at HISD for all that it's doing. So first of all, in short terms, tell me what's the issue with the Houston Independent School District?
Well, we have been taken over by the state, and that happened in June of 2023. So we no longer have any kind of electoral influence over what happens with our school district at all. And, of course, the state put in their own superintendent, Mike Miles, who we've all heard of by now. And he's using HISD as the giant lab for his giant experiment in education reform. And his brand of education reform is that he believes that children are widgets that produce test scores, and he can mass produce these widgets using the same process for every single widget. So every single student is subjected to exactly the same sort of mass-produced learning experience, and it takes individuality out of the classroom for both the teachers and the students. And of course, I know everybody's heard about this by now, but the first thing that he did was take the libraries out of the schools that he used as the targets for his new learning model, which he calls New Education System, or NES, if you've heard that term. And nothing really could be more symbolic than the loss of the libraries, the loss of that creative space of sharing knowledge in a creative way. So that's how he views.
Now, Sarah,
Uh,
didn't he convert the library? Didn't he convert the libraries into detention centers?
Yes, but more like study halls. Originally, they were called detention centers, and then they changed it to learning centers. But basically, they're study halls where the kids are completely quiet and they work on worksheets, and that's so kind of like the kind of study halls that you go to for being punished.
Now,
Kind of like
isn't it also true that his model, he's tried it in a voucherized system in Colorado and I think certain parts of Texas, and they were not resounding successes at all?
well, and I don't think they're voucherized in Colorado that I know of. What he has is a charter school system that he started.
I meant charter. That's what I meant. Charter, yeah.
Yeah, after he was kicked out by the elected board of trustees in Dallas ISD in like 2012 or 2013, he went off to Colorado and started a charter school system. And I do believe he uses basically the NES style learning mode at his charter schools. And no, they're not that successful because in Colorado they're losing students to the point where they were losing money. And so that's when I think many people have read by now that his Texas branch, which is newer and so hasn't started losing money yet, was basically sending money over to Colorado to keep it afloat. So that's been quite a scandal that Texas taxpayer dollars intended to land in Texas schools and be used to help Texas students were flowing across to Colorado just to keep Colorado schools from going under.
Now, Sarah, one of the things is that we can sit down here and complain about all these things that are happening within the school district and just be victims, or we can actually do something about it. And one of the things that I respect about you and others, in the case I'm featuring you because, again, something happened recently that is beer talking about, and that is you went there as you normally do to listen to them, and you had a few choice, not bad words, but choice words for them, and they got you arrested. Tell us a little bit about that in sort of short form.
Well, I go to most of the HISD monthly meetings. I've been doing that for many years. And you can have your moment of speaking 1 minute. And on this particular night, which was the January meeting, I did that. And the board was deciding on something really important, which was they were going to approve $1 billion worth, $870 million worth of contracts retroactively without any real review because Miles asked them to do that, which is completely just like an abdication of their fiduciary responsibility. So they came out of closed secret session after 2.5 hours and voted to do this, which we knew that they would do, but it was disappointing nonetheless. And then the next moments they were reading off a list of properties to sell, which was kind of very much a 1-2 punch of here's some horrible things we're going to do because we don't have to answer to anybody. And that's when I yelled at them, "You are so disappointing." And then I yelled, "You are the most disappointing people." And I said something about, why don't you sell the Hattie Mae administration building while you're at it? And they started hustling me out of there and I didn't make it easy for them because I dropped to the ground, and so then they handcuffed me. And I was very surprised by that. I thought I would just be forced to leave, but no, they escalated it, and they arrested me and for trespassing, not for disrupting, just literally straight up criminal trespass, and I, had to go downtown to jail and the whole bit. So it was pretty hideous. It was a tremendous escalation on their part for just me saying, "You're the most disappointing people."
And that is how autocracy works, folks. We have an autocratic Houston Independent School District assigned by the governor. All the people who were voted in as board members, they were disregarded, and now the government controls our board through Miles. And anybody who talks about it, uh, Sarah Terrell put her body on the line to say, no, we want to have input in this, and for that she got arrested. But luckily, tell us some of the results that have occurred thus far.
Well, I spent I spent 18 hours in jail, so that was pretty punitive, I have to say. And then the case was dismissed. I think that you guys talked about me on KPFT, and people were writing into the DA's office, and I think the DA was like, "This is really not a good case to be pursuing." So the case was dismissed about a week later. So that was good. But then the next month came along, and by the way, thanks to everybody who emailed and took part in that public outreach to the DA's office. And then a month later, I was signed up to speak at the next meeting in February. And I really thought they would stop me at the door before I tried to get into the boardroom, because they have a security agent who warns you and stuff before you go into the boardroom. And I fully expected to be stopped there, but actually I got stopped by a letter. An email came that formally advised me that I was already a trespasser. So for the safety of the learning environment, I was prohibited from going to any HISD facility, including like a school, to pick up a kid or attend a play or anything. And especially, I'm not allowed to go and speak publicly or participate in the public board meetings anymore.
In other words, you were banned from being able to participate as a tax-paying citizen of the Houston Independent School District, which is sad. But the one thing that I want to stress here to everybody that's listening, Sarah Terrell, she looked at a problem, she participated, she engaged herself. And what I am most happy about the outcomes thus far is that as an activist, the one thing that an activist wants to know, people that are putting themselves on the line, is that the community who they're serving has their back. And that's one thing. And Sarah just pointed out in her thank you to the community at large, because especially in these times, we don't have to back down. But for those of us who put our bodies on the line, the community must be there. And the community, I want to tell you, Sarah, will always be there for you as you continue your I don't want to say fight, but the necessary activism with a rogue Houston Independent School District. So we're kind of out of time here, so I'm going to ask you to give me a quick 15-second closer.
Well, I just want to say, having your free speech stymied as they've done by banning me from the properties it just feels really sinister and kind of scary. So, we're in danger of losing our voices in terms of public speaking and free speech. So I would encourage everybody to do more than just have other people's backs, but go out and speak yourself and use your voice, your public voice, while you still have free speech in this country, because it's possible that we won't always have that to the extent that we do now. So it can be a little bit scary to lose it, especially as in my case, I've not lost it completely, but there's a dent in my free speech rights already. So I feel like I can say now from experience, we need to treasure those rights by using them right now.
Sarah Terrell, before I close here, I want to say, folks, those of you who can go speak at the board meeting, go speak and make sure each one of you say, release Sarah Terrell from what you have her on right now. She should be able to go speak to that board freely. Every single person that goes up there and speak should have that word at the tip of their tongue. Sarah Terrell, thank you so kindly for having been on Politics Done Right.
Thank you for having me, Egberto, and thank you for everything that you do.
You have a wonderful rest of your day. All right, folks, that was Sarah, one of my heroes that goes out there and get stuff done. Anyway, I want to give a big thank you to Joanna, who is the first pledge of the day, and it's a sustaining member and a new member. Folks, we still have a long way to go, but I want to thank Joanna so kindly for your contribution. She says, Politics and Right. Egberto and Annie Arneson, thank you for your work, diligence, intelligence, humanity. Thank you for being a part of it and supporting it. So before we go to the next subject, I want to throw it right back to our sister, Elise Bench. Come on in.
Yeah, thanks. That was such a fascinating conversation. Thank you so much for having Sarah on, Egberto. You're listening to Politics Done Right on KPFT. We are in Pledge Drive. If you listened at all to what Sarah had to say about what's happening here in the local Houston community, drilling down into what's happening with HISD, she's banned from being able to speak at board meetings. She's banned by HISD from being able to go into her own grandson's school or any HISD campus for that matter. If you're feeling a sense of outrage, if you are connecting to this information and it is telling you something about what the future might look like for not only HISD, not only for Houston, but for the greater part of Texas, maybe even for the United States, we're trending in a direction that can sometimes be a little bit frightening, and it's absolutely real. KPFT is offering you the voice. We're offering you the opportunity to keep free speech alive. And it could not be more important than it is right now to hear your voice and to be able to add you to the list of members and contributors to KPFT, kpft.org. If you've ever been on the fence and thought, my contribution isn't the deal maker, it isn't going to make that much of a difference, I'm here to talk to you about that because it truly will make a huge difference. We live on financial donations. We don't take corporate sponsorships. You won't hear us breaking for commercials at all on KPFT because that's not what we're about. You heard Sarah talking about it. She's a community activist. We provide the space, we provide the airwaves to give a voice to the folks that deserve it who may not have a voice. Sarah has been gagged primarily by HISD, but we allow her to speak her truth and to talk about what's happening. And those details, that news and information is vital right now. Won't you help us continue on this 55-year mission to be able to bring you this type of information and the important news that really does make an impact on your life? Thank you so much. Continue the conversation. Back to you, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly for that. But before I continue with the program, let me get to Tag and then Kyle. But I have some important stuff of the U.S. Post Office to talk about. Come on in, Brother Tag.
Hey, quick word about from a listener about pitching, if I may.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It's my understanding that the sustaining membership program is working very well for the station. I encourage people to do that if they can. But in the past, there's been a lot of other good ways where people could donate to the station. And one of those things, I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but donate a vehicle. I think KPFT's got a lot of money in from that. But even more than that is that if somebody wants to write KPFT into their will, if they don't have any place else to put their estate, But I always remember the glory days when people were donating real estate to the station, and that has always been a big buzz over the years. So a lot of good ways. And probably one of the most important things is that people can volunteer to come down and work at the station, do yard work or do whatever needs to be done, wash windows. And that's always important. If you can't give money, you can always spend some time at the station. So, and then I have a word of the day. Would you like to hear the word of the day?
Yes, I will. Or yes, I do.
It's senicide, SENCIDE.
Tell me
And
about it.
well, it was kind of come from the days of the Vikings and the Nordic traditions, where when people got old, uh, some people would just run and throw themselves off a cliff so they weren't a drag on society, believe it or not. And so, if you kind of do a little research into genocide, it's very interesting. And I feel like nowadays, with the regime we have running this country, that they would try to push that idea that we don't want people drawing off our society. It's making our society weak. So if people could get out of the way,
Right. I
stop
see where you're
draining the
going.
society, that would you we have a lot of um, ways that we still do that today. If you sign a do not resuscitate, that's kind of doing the same thing. If I'm to the point where I need to be on a machine, just unplug me. It's that same type of philosophy that we still follow in our society today. But if you look back to genocide and the idea that the Vikings and the Nordics, they kind of started with this way back hundreds and hundreds of years ago, that that type of a philosophy kind of comes and goes in our society. And it's going through a time of our society where we are trying to to help everybody, to try to keep you alive, to make us stronger that way. But I think there's a big push back and forth, and that's what a lot of people don't understand, why all of a sudden the pendulum's swinging back the other way, where they're saying, well, let's just do genocide. And I think that's a lot of what the Germans and Hitler was all about, was getting rid of the weak in our society, or in this society at the time. So
Well,
I think it's a very important thing that people need to understand what's happening in society today. So that's the word of the day. I'm sure Howard will like that.
I
hey,
do.
Howard, do you like that?
I do like that.
Well,
I was here
go
thinking
ahead.
as you were talking, Tag, I don't think that any other administration throughout my entire 70 years has been so compared to Nazi Germany. Now, if you can think back to Reagan, they would have never said anything about that, about him, or Jimmy Carter, or, Clinton, any of them. But this one here so resembles it, you have to say something. So speak
Well,
out.
let me say this much, is that with this effort to get rid of DEI, when we celebrate somebody like Jimmy Carter hitting 100 years old, that's DEI all the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Our government today doesn't want to celebrate somebody getting 100 years old. They want to celebrate by getting these people out of the way and stopping their draw on our society. That's why they want to get rid of Medicaid. They don't want to have draws on our society. They want our society to become real strong, and I think that's great. But I don't
Well,
think you're going to do it by getting rid of DEI.
Well,
look,
Tag,
I
and
have. Oh, I'm sorry.
oftentimes,
Go ahead.
and oftentimes DEI, I mean, the assistance that the government provides is temporary. I mean, these people need a hand temporarily to get back on their feet. And then once they do, they become members, giving members of society. But when you're down and out, I mean, it may not even be your fault, okay? Because stuff happens. It may not be your fault that you're down and out right now because a corporation decided to downsize and cut your job. And you're 60 years old and you can't find another one. But you eventually do find another one, get off of government assistance, so it's only temporary in many cases. So that's the point I wanted to make.
Yeah, let me say this much real quick, is that one of the biggest ironies for me about DEI and helping people through is Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas was helped and helped and helped, and now look at him. He's on the Supreme Court and also trying to turn that tide. And I just don't understand why people can't acknowledge the fact that when you help people, eventually they end up helping society again. And it doesn't make society weaker. It helps to strengthen our society rather than throwing people under the frickin' bus. It just doesn't work for me. So with that, I think I'm going to let Egberto have a show back.
All right. Thank you very much. I
We
want to
often
talk about
hijack his show.
everybody hijacks my show, but it's I love everybody. But you know what? I'm going to try to go through these calls quickly because I do want to talk about the Postal Service. But before I get to Bruce, I want to ask kindly folks. I want to welcome Joe in the chat from Los Angeles, California. James, Mike, don't know where you're from. Thank you for being in the chat, as well as Eric Hayes from King Tascasita. And I saw somebody else. Para ver, I'll check that out later. But anyway, let's go to Roberto, line number 4. Come on in, Roberto. How you doing?
Morning. Good morning, everyone. First and for all, I want to thank Mr. Politics Done Right. He has been doing a great informational base, not only here in Houston, but pretty much to the world. I'm the CEO for Pantex, which that is Panama Texas Connection Foundation, and I just wanted was to double the pledge of what Mr. Politics Done Right is doing. He said 10, I'm going to do 20. And I would like, 10 goes to Mr. Politics Done Right and 10 goes to KPFT. I think KPFT is the number one source of information that is putting out to the world. You guys need to continue doing what you're doing. It's very effective. And I've always said knowledge is power. So I'm a firm believer. And probably one day I would like to sit in with KPFT to do a broadcast of what we do. Pantex is a nonprofit organization, and we support for the military. And we have that heart for all veterans and all first responders. So that's pretty much what I just wanted was to say.
Hermano, muchas gracias. Look, you do a lot. I know Roberto personally. We grew up together. This is shocking. Hey, let me just tell you, he does a lot of great work, a lot of good nonprofit work, and he served in Iraq. So when you hear Donald Trump speaking about immigrants, this guy grew up with me. Immigrants. He called me. I always tell people this story because it always touches my heart. When bombs were falling in Iraq, he was on the base that bombs were hitting, and he called me to say, love you, brother. If it doesn't work out, I love you, brother. This is my brother to the core. Hermano, muchas gracias por llamar. Thank you so kindly for calling in and making a pledge. This is a KPFT pledge. So my brother, that $20 that you're pledging, that goes all to KPFT. I just want the entire folks that are listening right now to understand that. So thank you so kindly, and thank you for having served our country. Thank you for being who you are, and thank you for what you are doing in the community. That is what it's all about. Just like Sara Terrell called in and she's working with the community. My brother, so are you, and it's my honor to be your brother. So thank you for calling in, sir. And I got to get to the other caller, but thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right, let's go to Bruce. Come on in, Bruce.
Morning, Egberto. I'll be kind of fast. 6 years ago, in my book club, a guy said, I'm voting for Trump because I worked and studied my ass off to amass what I have. I want to be able to give it to my kids. Well, he's speaking in code. What he's saying is liberals don't want to work to add to the pie. They just want to suck off the system. That's code. Elon says that USAID's full of waste and fraud. What he's saying in code is the actual good deeds themselves are fraud. When Hegseth says he doesn't want unqualified people to get positions, he's not really saying that. He's saying if I give equal opportunity, I won't be able to get just white loyalists. He's speaking in code. So we have to look at that. Trump doesn't even bother with the code. He just comes out and says it. The other thing I have to say is we should cherish KPFT because eventually Trump's coming after all dissent, including media, and we'll be in the crosshairs. We'll survive, but we'll be in the crosshairs. I'm done.
Thank you so kindly, Bruce. And again, with people like you and others engaging, remember Sarah gave some marching orders when she left. She said, it's not good to just have my back. You also have to engage. Those were her last words, and she's absolutely right. Thank you so kindly, Bruce, for all that you do, friend. All right, let's go to, let me get my sister in. Patty, come on in, Patty.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm outside cutting wood.
I live in a very red district in Michigan, and I just want to spread the word. There's been a sea change, and despair is not an option. At our monthly legislative update for my county yesterday,
Amen.
which usually is not well attended, and I may be the only one who asks a question many months. Yesterday it was standing room only. They had to bring chairs in, and people were not having the lies. We usually only hear from our Republican state representative and his daddy, our state senator, and our representative in Washington, who told me in that very room that yes, integrity, honesty, truth are important, and yet is pure MAGA. Yesterday said we are not going to listen to lies anymore. So do not despair. Speak out and be there.
Thank you so kindly for that, Patty. And talking about not listening to lies anymore, how refreshing was it to see the French president call out Donald Trump in front of the world's media as a liar, stating that America is taking the brunt of paying for Ukraine when the EU is paying 60% of the bill and are not extorting as a colonist what Donald Trump is doing to Ukraine right now. Look, I'm not for any wars, but what Donald Trump is doing to Ukraine is called extortion and colonization. What they did in all throughout Africa, and to see that he got called out in real time by a European president, it was a sight to see. Thank you so kindly for your thoughts, Patty. I need to run to Kyle right now. Kyle, come on in.
June 1988.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. I wish to start a business very soon, and it shall be a gym.
Great. I am happy that you're willing to start a business. Since we're talking some politics today, my dear brother Kyle, let's talk about that another time. But thank you for calling, and I appreciate that you listen to our show every day. Okay, okay, Kyle.
Yes, sir.
You have a wonderful rest of your day, brother Kyle. Let's go to my brother Patrick. Come on in, Patrick.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
I'm fine. Talk to me, sir.
I'm hoping I'm wrong, but it looks like we've turned our back on the UN and on NATO.
No, you're not wrong. You're absolutely right. And the thing about it is, I think, Patrick, we have to show. I mean, and I think Howard started it this morning, right? It wasn't on my show today, but Howard started it. Howard said, "Can you believe what we did in the UN?" That is what we have to do. We have to put that case in front of the people, like you did, like Howard did at the beginning of the show.
Now, with that said, I'm wondering who's left to include in the world. We've turned our back on Asia. We've turned our back on Central and South America. We've turned our back on Europe. Europe is where white people are from. I mean, did we run out of people to be racist with, and now we're just mad at other white people?
Okay, I'm gonna answer that because I have the perfect answer for that, right? White supremacy has nothing to do with white people. White supremacy, just like racism, just like anything else, is a tool for a few to capitalize for themselves. And what's occurring right now with Donald Trump is he doesn't care about any human being. Donald Trump, a lot of black folks and Latinos and everyone are going to get mad at me. Donald Trump is not a racist, really. Okay, Donald Trump is just Trump, and all he cares about is maximizing for himself, and he will use the tools of racism, white supremacy, and all the isms to get the goal. And that is what it's all about. And if we understand that, then we can all get together and understand what this guy is all about. Anything else, Patrick? I'm kind of running out of some time right now to raise some money.
I was just going to say it's looking like that's going to increase insecurity in Eastern Europe and bring us closer to war under a president that said that he was going to end wars. I have relatives in Scotland and Ireland. We're making some bad mistakes. I'll leave it there.
Thank you very much, Patrick. Let's explore some more of this on the 3 o'clock show, Patrick, because I think you're nailing it right there, brother. Let's talk about that when we have some more time. And I want to jump back to first of all, I want to thank Roberto. I want to thank Kimberly, and I want to thank our new what should I say, members. Thank you so kindly. Hey guys, look. We are way behind. Our goal is $500. We haven't yet touched 200. We're close, but haven't yet touched 200. Let's go to Brian. Come on in, brother Brian.
Well, I hope you meet your donation goal for the day and the week and whatever. So,
thank you, sir.
Volunteer. Yeah. Now, Zelensky has backtracked on his promises to either repay the money, the almost $100 billion that we've gave him and his country, and we wanted the precious metals in return. And he said, no, he's not going to do that. We would have guaranteed to protect our precious metals if he wouldn't have backtracked. And also, he did suspend free elections. So what does that make him? It makes him a dictator. It makes him want the power. Now, that's the true story.
All right, I hear you about, first of all, right now they are under martial law and elections don't occur under martial law. If Trump decides to invoke martial law, which I think is on the cards right now, the same thing will occur here. Now, when it comes to the precious metal, that has an air of colonialism. And I think we don't have enough time to discuss my thoughts on that right now, Brian. First of all, what you said, there's a whole lot of truth to it. Yeah, if somebody comes to me with a piece of paper and says, turn over 50% of your rare earths in perpetuity for your security, I'll kind of say, no, that is almost like somebody coming over here to the United States and say, give me all your uranium or all your oil. Or half of it, and then we guarantee your safety. Sounds like extortion to me. But I hear you. I got to go, Brian, but I hear you. Let's talk about that when I have a lot more time, because I got to raise some money and I got to get to David. But thank you for the call. And actually, thank you for your tonality today. You have a wonderful day, Brian. All right, let's go to David. Come on in, David.
Egberto? Oh, thanks,
yes, sir.
Egberto. Yeah, it sure does sound like extortion. And as a matter of fact, if somebody fell into a river and there were a line of people on the shore and they were going to have a bidding war for how they'd rescue you, and somebody might toss you a strand of barbed wire. Oh, you grab this barbed wire. When somebody will toss you a moldy rope, or somebody toss you a logging chain, to get you out of the river. And they all have a bidding war about whether they'll toss you anything that'll actually save you, or the real purpose is to cheat you out of what you own. No, it's pretty creepy. Donald Trump has no dignity, and he's making America look like a pack of fools. But regarding the fundraising, I flashed on an idea that might make a lot of sense. Donating to KPFT, you get a tax write-off, right?
Yes,
now,
you do.
If Elon Musk has sneaked his way into the Treasury of the United States, well, on April 15th, I don't want my money to go into the Treasury. And if I were to donate to KPFT, I'd get a tax write-off, and then I wouldn't have to send my money to the Treasury.
I love you for that.
Yeah, if you have a certain amount of money, say you got $2,000 that you're supposed to pay in taxes this year, well, you're entitled to spread it around to nonprofits. You're entitled to buy bonds with it. There might be a school bond issue in Houston. There might be a sewer bond issue. There might be a school bond issue. Those, not only do you get interest on it, but they're tax free. And there are other opportunities, donations to charities, but to your own IRA. You're entitled to drop a few thousand in each year into your IRA. and so it goes to you, and it's an investment. And Donald Trump would call you smart for not paying your taxes.
Exactly right. Hey, David, I
Well,
got it. I want to talk. You're absolutely right, and I get your point. I want to talk a little bit about USPS before I go because I want to give people this important message. And so, look, thank you for those words. And folks, we are behind. And so, look, you can go to kpft.org right now, and you can provide us with whatever you can. But select politics done right. I mean, select the donate button at kpft.org. Select that donate button, kpft.org. Select the donate button. Go ahead and hit that scroll for politics done right and give whatever you can. $5 a month, $10 a month, $15 a month, $20 a month, $25 a month. The first one is about the post office. Folks, right now, Donald Trump is attempting to put the post office under the Commerce Department with the intent of privatizing privatizing your postal service. Most of the support Donald Trump gets in this country comes from rural America, red states. These are states that are most dependent on the United States Postal Service. Forget what you hear when they try to tell you how mismanaged the United States Postal Service is. It is not. The Postal Service was forced, unlike any private company, they were forced to fund their retirement for their employees for several decades out in the future. And what that did from a accounting point of view, that made it seem like the United States Postal Service was not, it shouldn't be profitable at all. The United States Postal Service maintains itself. It is one of those government agencies that don't get tax dollars. It's one of those agencies that the amount of money it collects from postal services and whatever it sells goes right back into the postal service. It is a self-sustaining body. At the times that it ran deficits, these deficits were mostly run because of what they did to their, what the government, the Republican Congress at that time, forced them to pay ahead of schedule the retirement for all of the postal employees. So it had an implied deficit. It wasn't a real deficit, an implied deficit. They've been adjusting their rates to take into account this false thing that they were forced to do. No other delivery company can get a piece of mail from Alaska, no matter where you are, to Alaska, to Hawaii, to Guam, to any part of the United States for under $1. You can get a first class piece of mail there. No private company will do that. In fact, your USPS, your UPS, United Parcel Service, Federal Express, DHL, all these private carriers who are salivating to take over the Postal Service under a Trump administration. They use the United States Postal Service for what's called the last mile. And where's the last mile? On top of that mountain in rural West Virginia, in that desert in rural Arizona, in those far-fetched areas of Northwest Texas, places that the USPS do not deliver themselves. But those people still get their parcels. Those people still get their mail. Those people still get all of this to their door by the United States Postal Service for the same price somebody in Houston, Texas, somebody in Dallas, Texas, somebody in New York, somebody anywhere. That's what your postal service does. But as the private sector would do all of the times, they would try to destroy government or their agencies so that they can collect a profit on your backs. Because the cheapest rate for what the United States Postal Service does for under $1, the cheapest that you can get it done by Federal Express is over $5. And I think it's actually quite a bit more than that now. What they're trying to do is suck it to you. The end of the Postal Service. I'm at 7 o'clock. I have to say, this is KPFT Houston. At the top of the Postal Service, what these guys are attempting to do with this new executive order that Donald Trump has planned is to destroy this agency, this governmental, quasi-governmental agency that is in the Constitution to deliver you mail. Their attempt is to privatize it, and once privatized, no longer are rural America necessarily going to get their daily mail. Yes, they're going to have regulations in there probably to say every address still has to be addressed. But what they may do is they may say, well, rural areas will get their mail maybe once a week because of cost, as opposed to their everyday delivery service right now. So if you are in rural America, if you are in red state, red county, red country, remember, I already told you, you made a bad vote because your Social Security, which is something we should discuss today as well, but we can't because we still haven't met our goal, and several other subjects. Your Social Security is in danger. Your Medicaid is in danger. Your family who works for the government is in danger. And now your postal, the delivery of your mail is in danger. The delivery of your medicines are in danger. The delivery of your products from whatever company you buy from is in danger because these guys want to make a profit on your back. You're not going to read this in detail in the Houston Chronicle as far as how efficient the Postal Service is, because they have been training you to believe. They have been teaching you to believe. They have been trying to indoctrinate you, brainwash you into thinking that excellent agency called the United States Postal Service, there's something wrong with it. No, folks. It's the best delivery service since apple pie, because no private delivery system is going to give you what the United States Postal Service gives you. We, the people of the United States, within our Constitution, is the Postal Service. And what they're trying to do is destroy it, remove it from the Constitution, and put it into the private sector. No can do. And it is incumbent on our rural MAGA brothers and sisters to get on the picket line now with your postal brothers and sisters, because guess what? Those are good paying jobs that a lot of MAGA folks hold themselves. Folks, you cannot allow the systemic destruction of your personal economies. Every single address in America is serviced by the Postal Service. Every single address in America is not serviced by UPS, FedEx, DHL, or any of the services. Okay? They use the United States Postal Services for places they don't go. You are investing in, you are subsidizing these rich companies when you deliver their mail to rural areas. Don't let them take that away. Don't let that take them out. And you can stop that today. You can go to politicsandright.com/newsletter for the rest of the show, the different articles that we're talking about with Social Security, Medicaid, etc. It is something that we're going to be hitting up daily, because we have to get you to your Congress people daily to save grandma, to save these programs that we depend on, that we have paid for. These aren't gifts. When you get your Social Security, that's not a gift. When you get Medicaid because you are disabled, when you get Medicaid because you are poor, it's not a gift. You are still a vibrant part of this society. Poor people do more for society than they are given credit for, because they are known as the people with the maximal marginal propensity to consume. We'll go into economics another day on that issue, because a lot of people make poor people feel like there's something that poor people are a vital part of this economy like anybody else. Folks, we all have to fight to make sure we don't have an oligarchic society that takes it all. I'm going to close out a little bit in a couple minutes, but I want to pass it to the studio for brother Howard and Jack.
Well, I am very shocked about this U.S. Post Office thing. I know my postman by name. That's how close I am with the post office. And I think it's just going to be a terrible thing to happen, and we better stop it as soon as we can. Folks in the rural areas, if you're listening, this is a wake-up call. Get out there. You don't want to do your mail once a week. You don't want to have to drive into town 20 miles to get your mail. You don't want to have to do that. Wake up, make your voice heard. And in fact, Jack, what does your voice say?
The guy who jumped on JFK's limo to keep Jackie from jumping out of the limo because she knew where the shots were coming from died at 93 today.
Yes, I heard. Thank you very much, Jack. Folks, I want to, first of all, thank you so kindly, Elise, for pitching with me today. I appreciate that. And when it comes to KPFT, as we go off the show, I'll be going off in a minute and 30 seconds. Here's the deal. You can still donate to this program even as I'm off. You can go to kpft.org, kpft.org, hit that donate button. And when you click on, you select Politics Done Right, I know a lot of times you guys want to hear the show, so you're not wanting to dial the phone or go click the stuff, but you can do that now. Please go ahead and hit that donate button, click that, select the drop down Politics Done Right, and donate to the program. $5 a month, $10 a month, one-time donation, whatever you want. But we need to reach that number of 500, and we are about $300 short. So I know there are a few of you out there that after the show can say, yes, I'll go ahead and do it and make Politics Done Right whole. I want to thank Elise. I want to thank Jack. I want to thank Howard. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right, and you guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out! Support for this show, Politics Done Right, comes from politicsdoneright.com, publishers of How to Make America Utopia, Take Away the Economy from Those Who Rigged It. As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. It's Worth It, How to Talk to Your Right-Wing Relatives, Friends, and Neighbors, and other books written by Egberto Willies. Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a